Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really plunging into something often unseen. Um, a war not fought on open battlefields, but deep in the shadows.
hmm
We're talking about the undeclared conflict between Iran and Israel. It's like a Cold War, you know. It's shaped so much, toppled governments, and it's always sort of simmering, threatening peace. Mostly hidden, but always there.
Exactly. And that hidden nature is why we wanted to tackle this today.
Mm.
Our mission really is to pull back the curtain for you,
Mm.
to unpack how this very unique, low visibility conflict actually works,
Right.
and why understanding it is so critical, even if it's not always front page news.
Okay, so let's get into the origins, because you really need to understand the history here. If we go back to 1979, after the Islamic Revolution in Iran,
The pivotal moment.
huge. The new Shia clerical regime, they pretty much immediately labeled Israel a Zionist enemy. Their stance, fundamentally, is that Israel just has no right to exist. That's been core to their policy ever since.
And you absolutely have to see the other side of that coin. For Israel, Iran is seen as, well, an existential threat. Truly.
Not just words, then.
Oh, no, it's very specific. Well, it stems from Iran's nuclear ambitions. That's a huge one. And its very active support for groups like Hezbollah right there in Lebanon and Hamas in Gaza. These groups are armed and funded by Iran.
So you put those two perspectives together.
And you get this incredibly dangerous, long-running Cold War. Decades of it, playing out mostly beneath the surface.
And what's so fascinating, or maybe alarming, is how they fight. It's not traditional war at all. They use like four distinct methods, often very covert. It's a whole different playbook.
It is. It's all about applying pressure, but indirectly,
Yeah.
asymmetrically, not marching armies.
Okay, so method one, proxy warfare. This is classic Iran strategy, right?
Yeah.
Funding, training, arming groups, these proxies. We mentioned Hezbollah, Hamas. And these groups then do the direct confronting, launching rockets into Israel, raids across the border, generally stirring up trouble. Iran pushes, but its own soldiers aren't usually on the front line of that fight.
And strategically, this gives them that crucial deniability. It muddies the waters. Who do you blame? Who do you retaliate against? It makes a coordinated international response really difficult.
It's designed to be slippery.
Very much so.
Okay, second arena. This one's maybe less visible, but just as intense. Cyber attacks.
Oh, a major front. You immediately think of Stuxnet, don't you?
Definitely. 2010, that incredibly sophisticated virus reportedly developed by Israel and the U.S.
Designed specifically to wreck Iran's nuclear centrifuges. A real landmark moment in cyber warfare. Digital sabotage on a national scale.
But it wasn't just one way. Iran hit back. We saw attacks, didn't we, in 2020 and 2021, targeting Israeli water systems, banks.
Yes, it's a constant digital tit for tat. An escalating conflict in a space where, the rules are still being written.
Then there's the third battleground, Syria.
Right. The sky is over Syria.
Iran's been trying hard to build up its military presence there, bases, moving weapons, trying to create another front against Israel, essentially.
And Israel's response.
Consistent bombing raids, taking out those Iranian bases, weapons convoys, specifically to stop those advanced arms from reaching Hezbollah in Lebanon, which is right on Israel's northern border.
And these strikes happen frequently, almost weekly sometimes.
But here's the thing. Neither side really talks about it much publicly. There's rarely an official claim or confirmation.
And that silence, that ambiguity, is part of the shadow war strategy. It allows both sides to act without necessarily triggering a massive escalation. It keeps things contained in a very tense way.
It maintains that deniability we talked about.
Exactly.
Okay, fourth arena, assassinations. This is maybe the most dramatic. Israel's intelligence agency, Mossad, has been blamed for killing several Iranian nuclear scientists over the years, often in quite bold operations.
And Iran, of course, publicly vows revenge after these incidents. It feeds this cycle of action and reaction, keeping that pressure cooker environment going.
So these four methods, proxies, cyber, serious strikes, assassinations, they all allow for this constant conflict without a full declaration of war.
Precisely. It's characterized by deniability, subtle pressure, operating below the threshold of conventional warfare, but it's still incredibly dangerous.
And that danger really came to a head, didn't it, in April 2024? That was when this shadow war almost burst into the open. It felt like we were right on the brink.
Things got very tense very quickly.
It started with an Israeli airstrike in Damascus, Syria. But this wasn't just targeting weapons. It hit an Iranian consulate building and killed several high-ranking Iranian generals.
A major escalation, directly targeting senior Revolutionary Guard commanders on diplomatic territory, technically.
And Iran's response was frankly, stunning. For the very first time in history, Iran launched a direct military attack on Israel from Iranian soil. Hundreds of drones, ballistic missiles, cruise missiles.
It was unprecedented. A clear crossing of a long-held red line.
Now, thankfully, most were intercepted. Israel's air defenses, with help from allies like the US, UK, Jordan, they performed incredibly well.
Phenomenally well. But the message from Iran was unmistakable. They were willing to risk direct confrontation.
So, how did Israel respond to that?
Well, their counterstrike inside Iran was fascinating in its restraint, relatively speaking. It was very carefully calibrated. They hit a military base, reportedly damaging an air defense radar system near a nuclear site, but seemingly avoiding widespread damage or casualties.
Sending a message back, but trying not to ignite an all-out war.
Exactly that. It was meant to show capability, we can reach you anywhere, but without provoking a massive Iranian counter-response. Still, it brought them incredibly close to a full-blown conventional conflict. Dangerously close.
Which brings us to the big question. What does all this mean for, for us, for the world? Why should you care about the shadow conflict?
Well, the stakes are enormous.
Yeah, first off, you have Iran, which by most accounts is getting very close to having the capability to build a nuclear weapon if it decides to.
And on the other side, you have Israel, which is widely believed to possess nuclear weapons already, although it maintains a policy of ambiguity. They don't confirm or deny it.
So you have two nuclear-capable or potentially nuclear-capable states locked in this bitter rivalry.
And they're located in perhaps the most volatile region on Earth, already filled with interconnected conflicts. Think Syria, Iraq, Lebanon, Gaza. It's a tinderbox.
So if you connect the dots, one miscalculation in this shadow war, one strike that goes too far, one cyber attack that cripples something critical.
It could absolutely ignite a wider conventional war. And given the alliances and interests in the region, that kind of conflict could easily draw in global powers. The U.S., certainly. Russia has interest there. The Gulf Arab states would be deeply affected. It could spiral very, very quickly.
Understanding this hidden layer, this shadow war, is therefore crucial to understanding global risk, really.
Absolutely. It's essential critical thinking for anyone trying to make sense of international security today.
So, for now, the Iran-Israel war stays mostly in the shadows, a hidden but incredibly powerful force shaping the Middle East. But as we've seen, every cyber attack, every drone, every proxy skirmish, every alleged assassination, it potentially nudges the world a little closer to the edge.
And you have to ask, is genuine peace even possible under these conditions? With such fundamental disagreements and this ingrained pattern of deniable attacks and retaliations, well, it's incredibly difficult to see a clear path.
The region holds its breath, the world watches.
It does. And maybe the final thought for you, the listener, is this. What does it really mean for global stability when one of the most significant international rivalries operates largely out of sight, defined by hidden maneuvers and plausible deniability? How does that constant simmering tension, that undeclared war, shape our collective future? It's something we're thinking about long after this deep dive ends.